Well, hello. I am Meg Lewis. Can you hear that? Oh, yeah. This is perfect. Sound is great. This morning, last minute, I decided to create some backing vocals to my talk. You can like barely hear it, but it's in my hotel room, I created a little intro jingle for this talk, and it's been stuck in my head all day. All right. So I came from Minneapolis, where I just moved a couple months ago, but I moved from New York, so I'm a little familiar with big city life. I don't know what I'm talking about now. This is unrehearsed. But in general, I don't have strong opinions, and I don't like telling people how to live their life, which probably makes me a horrible speaker. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story and see if hopefully you can get a little bit of something out of that. So I am not a specific type of designer. I don't specialize in anything in particular, but I am something called a value-based designer, and I totally just made this up because I wanted to justify what I do for a living. So rather than being sort of like a logo or a brand designer or a product designer or a UI designer, I like to be any kind of designer as long as the company shares the same values that I do, and I call those happy companies. All right, so this talk is not about my work at all. In fact, this talk is about me in other forms, but not my work. So I want to quickly show you my work, and then we'll get on with that, because I think it's helpful for you to see. So this way you can kind of judge me, like, she's not the best. You can leave. I can't see anything, because there's just so much light shining on me right now. So this is some of my sort of brand and illustration work, and then this over here is more of my web and UI work. All right, so I also founded a company called Ghostly Ferns, and we are a freelancing family of best friends, and we work in New York and in Minneapolis. But I will talk more about that later. All right, so typical childhood slides. I had a pretty basic childhood growing up in the 80s and the 90s, and I grew up in Texas and in Kansas City, Missouri, and had a pretty standard childhood. Like most 90s kids, I loved watching TV. I loved pop culture. And these became sort of my childhood idols. These were the people that I watched every day that I looked up to. Specifically, huge fans of Pee-wee, Mr. Bean, Lucille Ball, Steve Martin, Kel Mitchell, and specifically Mrs. Doubtfire. I loved these characters because they were exaggerated versions of everyday humans that I would interact with. They were sort of characterized versions of everyday people, and I just loved that idea, and I wanted to be like that. So as I got a little older, I decided to become just that. I decided to become an exaggerated version of a human. So on the left, that's an average outfit that I just wore on any day. My parents, thank goodness for them, they let me dress myself, and sure, I got made fun of a lot, obviously. But it was so fun because I just did whatever I wanted because I wanted to be kind of like a character. And then on the right here is an average Meg Halloween costume. I never really wanted to be a typical Halloween costume for the holiday, so I would sort of go through my closet and find what I had and maybe get a mask for it. And that year I was sort of a pillow-stuffed old man, businessman maybe. His shirt's unbuttoned, maybe he's off work. All right, but I decided very quickly as a kid, when I would interact with adults, I would realize how boring their problems were. I remember one day in particular, my dad came home from work, and he had this long story that he was so excited to tell my mom about. He was in line at the bank, and there was some dude behind him, and he was touching him in line. That's not the best. But the guy was touching him in line, he was being really impatient, he was angry, and he was also on the phone. And my dad was excitedly telling my mom about this story, about this man that was driving him nuts. And that was the story, that was it. And I remember looking at my parents and just thinking, is that what it's like to be an adult? That sounds terrible. So I decided, whatever happens to me when I grow up, I just don't want that. I don't want that to be my life. I don't want to be a boring adult. And so I decided that I wanted to be more like this kid. So some of you know who this kid is, but I want to be just like this kid.
When I'm with friends, I like to have fun. I like to sing, dance, pretend, and
Let's give it up for Jonathan and Carl. Oh, yeah, actually, Jonathan, Carl, are you here? No, they're not here. Okay. But as I got older, I realized that something was happening, and I realized that I wasn't like most of the other kids in the way that I was feeling. So as I was a tween and a teen, other kids started to get in fights with each other, and they started to get upset with each other for doing things. People were getting upset with me for doing things, and I couldn't understand their frustrations, and I started learning about things like war and poverty and all of these injustices in the world, and things where one human wasn't as equal as another, and I didn't understand. And I soon realized that I have sort of an emotional disorder to where I'm constantly learning about it now, but most people have a range of emotions from high to low, and you kind of are fluctuating constantly between high and low. You have good days and bad days. And a lot of people who struggle with depression or other disorders are kind of stuck at the low side, whereas I realized and have found out that I'm sort of stuck on the high side. And so where I can have good days and bad days, I'm sort of always up here all of the time. And that's been kind of a challenge, mostly good, but kind of a challenge because I don't understand the people who are experiencing the lows, and I have a really hard time understanding things that put people down there. And so as a kid, I realized that this was going to be a really big problem for me, to not feel like that intense anger that people get and not to feel intense sadness. And so a few years ago, my mom, of all people, called me up, and she was like, Meg, I think I know what you are. I think you're something called a star person. She was reading this book, and she goes on to explain to me that a star person, it's a Native American belief that star people are literally sent to Earth from other planets, which I don't know why my mom thinks that I am an alien because she gave birth to me, but star people, it's a Native American belief that star people are sent to this world from other planets to inject small acts of kindness and an overall positive demeanor. And their goal is just to make the world a happier place, little by little. And with enough star people in the world, it's supposed to change the world and make the world happier. And so I was like, Mom, come on, you gave birth to me. What are you talking about? And she said, no, hear me out. Let me read to you the characteristics of a star person. She said, okay, so first of all, they have a lower than normal body temperature. I have always had a low body temperature, and to the fact when I would go to the nurse's office at school and be sick, I wouldn't technically ever have a fever because my body temperature is always too low. So it was the worst as a kid. And they're usually female, check. They have swollen or painful joints. My knees hurt so bad right now. They're short, I'm super short. And then also they occupy a creative profession. Okay, so cool, Mom. Yeah, that sounds like me, but let's just assume I'm not a star person. That's just dumb. I'm not an alien. That's weird. But whenever she described to me the life purpose of a star person, to inject the world with small acts of kindness and have an overall positive demeanor to make the world a happier place, that was so cool to me. And it made me feel like, wait a minute, I could have an actual reason for living if I apply this to my life. And I've never really thought of having a purpose for being alive before, other than sort of like to entertain my friends and family. And so this was really great. Thinking that the world actually needs me is something that was really, really powerful for me. So let's move on to once I start working. You hear that? Okay, this is my sad song. Okay, so I started working, and I went to school specifically to become a freelancer. So I wanted to do whatever I could to learn how to be a freelancer. But when I started working, I realized I didn't know anything about being a freelancer, and so I sort of just did whatever I could to get by. And that meant taking on a lot of projects that I didn't want to do. I was working for people that hated their jobs and hated their lives, and so they didn't really want to work with me either because they didn't like anything about their life. And so I was working on medical brochures and things that I knew weren't fulfilling my life's purpose. I was working on things that weren't really making the world a happier place at all. I was sort of just not making myself that happy either, and I knew that I needed to do something. And so that was my career, and in my personal life, I was going through the same stuff that every woman goes through. Like, I hated my body, I didn't like how I was acting, I was constantly, every time I would interact with someone, I would try to be the perfect version of myself, to where in my head I would be like, oh, you were being too weird, you shouldn't have said that, that was too strange. Like, be kind of funny and be polite and be like kind of cool. And so I was constantly analyzing myself, and I wasn't doing it right. And I hated my body so much, to the point where I like wouldn't look in a mirror. I never touched my body, I wouldn't look at my body. And that's not fun. Until a couple years ago, I ended up having, let's change up this song. I ended up having like kind of an epiphany. So what happened was, I was at a wedding and realized that I was never the kind of person that would dance at weddings or anywhere, because I didn't want to look stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to put myself out there, but I would always admire those people that like really go for it, and they're having the best time. And I always wanted to be one of those people, but I knew I could never be like that. And so I decided that I wanted to start dancing. So I decided, okay, this is the year I'm gonna dance. And so I was at this party, it was at like a house party in New York, and I thought, this is the night that I'm gonna dance. I'm not gonna make a big deal about it so no one knows it's my first time dancing. So I just started dancing. And for some reason, I chose a party where no one was dancing. And so I started dancing, and I went for it 100%. In this moment, I guess it's like maybe like skydiving, where I just sort of did it, and I went 100%. And instead of the reactions of like, oh, what is she doing? I sort of got, wow, look at you, Meg. People gave me really great reactions. And in that moment, I realized, like, what was I worried about all this time? It's not that big of a deal. And so I thought for a second, like, how can I do this more frequently? So I started taking dance fitness classes. And I had always been a little afraid to take a fitness class in the past, because if you imagine a fitness class as someone who's never taken one, you assume people all know what they're doing, and everyone's gonna be like completely, choreographed and looking beautiful and perfect. So I decided that the first kind of class I would go to would be a jazzercise class, because they brought jazzercise back recently, apparently. So I went to a jazzercise class, and quickly realized when I got there that I had gone to a jazzercise gold class, which I thought meant gold because it was extra special, but apparently that means over 65. And so I was at this jazzercise gold class, and they were very welcoming, and no one in the class knew what they were doing. They were just there to have fun and to get some exercise. And so I got right in there with them and danced my butt off, and it was amazing. So over the course of the next few months, I took every dance fitness class possible. I did a lot of Zumba, I did belly dancing, I did like this weird scarf dancing where I kept throwing my scarves and losing them. And I did so many different kinds of things, and I just loved every minute of it. So I thought that the last part of this sort of experiment would be to dance and put a video of myself dancing on the internet, because the internet is terrifying. People are so mean on the internet, and I knew that it would help me so much if I could just see some bad comments about myself and be able to fight through it and be okay with that. So I put this video of myself dancing on the internet. I'm gonna play a short clip of it. I put some different music on top of it just for dramatic effect. Well, thank you. So I kind of, once I did this and put it on the internet, again, no one was mean. Everyone was so nice, and I got messages of people saying how it inspired them, that they should feel like they should be themselves online, and I realized in that moment, like, what was I doing hiding who I was and hiding this person that it could have been my whole life? Why was I hiding that? And so in that moment, I sort of got hooked, and I started being myself online all the time. So I started posting really unflattering photos of myself because I realized that when I look horrible in a photo, it's just as exciting as when I look really awesome in a photo. And this is Microsoft's sort of age guesser. I don't know if any of you remember this from a couple years ago. But when I looked disgusting, it just shaved off so many years of my life. But I totally got hooked on looking disgusting and not being afraid of that. And I think the dance classes helped with that, because whenever you take a dance class, there's this giant mirror in front of you. And at first it's terrible because you're having to look at yourself doing all these things that you have never seen yourself do before. You see yourself from various angles that you don't ever see yourself from, and it's terrible at first. But as I was doing more classes, I grew to love watching myself because I was seeing myself grow, and I was becoming really comfortable with my body and looking at myself. And so I just became even more excited about looking terrible all the time when I could, because that's so fun. And then I was like, what else can I do? Maybe I'll start tweeting a lot about butts. I love butts so much. We can talk about that after this, but I love everything about butts. And so I started tweeting about butts kind of frequently. This is only a fraction of the butt content I've created. But I started just being myself on Twitter, on Instagram, and it felt really good because my clients are on there. My clients are seeing this. I was teaching college classes at the time. My students were on there. My parents, my in-laws, like everyone is seeing this. Everyone's seeing me post these disgusting photos of myself. And I thought that was pretty cool that I was still getting work in spite of it. So I thought for a minute, like, what else have I been hiding that I didn't need to be hiding this whole time? What else is there about me that everyone has been telling me has been wrong about myself, or the things that people have been saying, like, these are your flaws? And I decided to make a list. So here was my list of my flaws. So obviously, I'm unprofessional. I love that about myself, the fact that I'm tweeting about butts all the time, and my clients seem to just keep hiring me. It's fantastic. Also, I love change. I've never used the same shampoo twice. I have never lived in an apartment for more than a year. I just bought a house, by the way. I don't know how that's going to go. I love change. I'm constantly moving to different cities. I'm way too honest about myself, which I think you have probably noticed. And then I'm not interested in separating work from life. Like, people are always talking about work-life balance, and I understand how totally important that is if you have a full-time job and you need to go home and spend time with your family. But for me, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be like Kazoo Kid. I just wanted to hang out with my friends all the time and make my work all about my friendship. All right, so then the second part of my personal exercise that I did is I decided to say, okay, well, what do I actually value? Like, what are the things that are important to me? And I think that the first thing was fulfilling that life purpose that I gave myself of making the world a happier place. And also my friendships. I value my friendships so much. I'm sure we all do. But I also really value communities. I think it's really important that we all have a community that we can feel safe to be ourselves in. And I think I've found that in various ways on the internet and IRL, like events like this. And so it's really important to me that I can embrace that in any ways that I can. And then also, I value authenticity. People just being vulnerable and being able to be themselves is now really important to me. So I had to think, like, okay, so now I have this list of these flaws, these things that are different about me than anyone else, these things that I have that most people don't have. I thought maybe I could use those things as an actual superpower, because the world does need me to be me. And so I thought, how can I combine these with my actual values and kind of change my life and my career to reflect those flaws and those values? So here's what I did. First of all, my flaw that I love change, my flaw. So I love change. People are always like, Meg, you need to be staying put. Like, stop changing your mind. You're always changing your opinions. You're always changing your style or blah, 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 blah. But I think that's really cool about me. I really like that about me. And then also the value of that I want to make the world a healthier or happier place. And so that's when I changed my career. So at the time, I was working as I believe, a brand designer at the time. I went through, because I love change, I was like working as a UI designer for a while, designing for startups, and was doing more strategy for a while. But I decided, no, because I love change, I love being able to do a little bit of everything. And because I want to make the world a happier place, maybe I can do a little bit of everything and only work for companies that are making the world a happier place. And that's exactly what I started to do. I changed my entire career to only do these things, to only work for these types of companies. And those companies that are listed down there are just examples of what happy companies could be. I like to define them as companies who are working to make the world a healthier or a happier place. And I think the important thing is that it can be through their product, or it can be through sort of like their core values or the way that they treat their employees. And I think that MailChimp is a really great example of that, because email newsletter campaigns are not sexy. They're totally not really making the world a better place, but MailChimp is. They're really great in their own city of Atlanta, helping out the community there. They're really, really great to the people that are on their team, and everyone loves working for them and working around them. So secondly, a flaw about me that I'm so proud of is that I'm not interested in separating work from life. And I value my friendships. Like Kazoo Kid, I always just wanted to work around my friends. So I decided then and there that I wanted to band together with my best friends and sort of start something new with them. And so there's 4 of us today, and my husband is one of them, the gentleman with the leaf slapping him in the face. There are 4 of us now, and we are all best friends who completely love and completely trust one another. And we're all freelancers. And so what we do is we have our own freelance following individually and our own sort of careers that we've established. But whenever we band together and work on projects together, it creates this whole new thing, this whole new realm of possibility. And it's also pretty rad because we get to work around each other and provide each other with support every day. And even though maybe we only get to work together on projects 20% of the time, that doesn't matter because we have that support there all the time. And it's so, so great for us. And there's our little mascot. Her name is Flo. She's a ghost with boobs, and she's great. But I found this amazing clip of exactly what it feels like at Ghostly Ferns.
The best thing about working with these guys is I love competing with them, and they're my best friends.
The best part performing with these 2 guys is they keep me in line, and it's a lot of fun.
Describe our act in one word: we're hot.
I love them. But at Ghostly Ferns, we're really just there to sort of have fun together and make things together for ourselves. Ghostly Ferns as a company has never been interested in making any money. The company has never made money at all until we recently opened this shop. But what we do rather is whenever we work on projects, each of us is paid 100% for the work that we do. So the company never keeps any money because that's not what we're in it for. But now we have a shop, which is a really great place for us to make things that we want to make together. And it's something that we've really just done for us. And if people want to buy things, then that's totally fine. But it's been so fun working on the shop products and managing the shop. And obviously, I also work with my husband, which is like the coolest thing ever. We have been together since I was 15. And there is our first homecoming photo on the left-hand side. It's so embarrassing, but I don't care. You can probably see from the back my farmer's tan from band camp. Glaring. And Brad was super nerdy. His room was full of dragon posters, so many dragons. But there he is now. He's got a cute butt. And there's us doing a face swap. He looks like a terrifying lady. But it's so great working next to my husband every day, and I think I get a lot of feedback of people that say that they couldn't never spend that much time with their spouse. And for us, we love each other, and we truly like to spend as much time as possible together, so it's so, so great for us to be able to work together and live together every day. It's so wonderful. And we can cuddle while we're working. Spoon working, that's what we do. But also, I'm lucky enough to do work that never feels like work, because when I'm working for companies that are making the world a happier place and fulfilling my purpose and my values, I'm having so much fun because I'm finally living out my purpose and I'm doing what I need to do for me. And I'm just at my desk all day long laughing while I'm making work, and it's just the best. And I can't believe that companies hire me to be my weird self. It's so, so great. All right, so also, clearly, I'm way too honest about myself, and I value authenticity. I think it's definitely, whenever I started being honest about myself to people, it was hard for me to be vulnerable because I thought people would be judging me, and I was sort of, because I was living this calculated life before where I was trying to formulate the perfect version of myself and try to make sure that I was being that. Once I threw that away and started being myself all the time, it was so, so great for me, and it was so great for my self-esteem, and now I just love spending time with myself. So I thought, like, maybe business, maybe business Meg and pleasure Meg can be one thing. Like, why does it have to be two separate things? It doesn't need to be for me. And I've noticed that as I've been doing this longer and longer and longer and posting things like this, these are some of my Instagram stories, the more that I'm me, the more that I'm being 100% me online and offline, the more work I've gotten, the more real, true friendships I've made, and I just keep getting more opportunities since I've been this version of my true self. When I was trying to be a calculated, sort of curated version of myself, like maybe online, on Instagram, or in person, I wasn't getting nearly as many opportunities. And now that I'm being comfortable being myself, I'm constantly getting more and more projects that I never thought possible. It's been pretty awesome. But really, I mean, I'm just here to make the world a little bit happier. And that's my life purpose, and I just love it so much. So I want you all to sort of think about it for yourself. If you have a purpose for a living, maybe try to analyze that, or maybe try to come up with one. It's really powerful. And then think about those things that everyone has told you are your flaws your whole life. Maybe you are a night owl. Maybe you wake up at noon every day and people make you feel guilty about it. But maybe you have those things about yourself that people have always been criticizing you for. And you shouldn't feel bad about those things. Those things are actually things that are unique to you and no one else. And those things, you should think about them as your superpowers, because the world really needs us all to be ourselves, because that's how we can actually go out there and save the world. So I encourage you to try this exercise and to try to think about what your values are and your flaws, so that maybe you can craft your life and try to move your career in a way that can reflect those things for you. Thanks, y'all.